Hello friends, today is my first time uploading a video in YouTube. This is my first video, it's about Tanjiro getting lost in the Adventure Time universe. I assure you that this video is going to be good. If you like the video, you can comment what you think. There is going to be multiple parts. This is part 1. Thanks for watching. Fascinating clash of two worlds. Given your request for a slow-paced scene with dialogue, we will focus on Tanjiro's conviction meeting Marceline's thousand-year weariness before the inevitable swift defeat. The scene takes place deep in the woods of Wu, shortly after the chaos of the elementals has subsided, but before Marceline decides to risk her mortality in stakes. The scent of blood and sorrow. The air in the forest was thick with the scent of pine, damp earth, and something ancient and faintly metallic, like dried blood. Tanjiro Kamado knelt, his hand hovering over the hilt of his Nichiren sword. His sense of smell, far more acute than any ordinary human's, was screaming at him. Not the sweet, cloying odor of a newly slain victim, but a profound, millennia-old sorrow, tinged with the unmistakable, powerful stink of a demon. He rose slowly, his young face set in a familiar mask of grim determination. He followed the scent, moving silently through the shadows until he found the source, a figure lazily floating 6 feet above a moss-covered log. She was the antithesis of the grotesque demons he usually fought. She wore a tank top and boots, her skin a pale grey, her long black hair defying gravity around her. Her eyes, when they drifted open, were a startling, vibrant red. She was idly plucking at a bass guitar shaped like a battle axe. "Well, hello there," Marceline drawled, her voice rich and bored. She didn't sound startled. She sounded amused. "You smell sharp. Like laundry detergent and anger. What's up, kid?" Tanjiro didn't answer the casual question. He drew his sword in a single fluid motion, the charcoal black blade catching the scant light filtering through the canopy. "You reek of evil," Tanjiro stated, his voice trembling slightly, not from fear but from the intensity of his focus. His stance was perfect, ready for water breathing or Hinokami Kagura. "You are a powerful demon. As a demon slayer, I will not allow you to exist and prey on the innocent." Marceline stopped playing, the last note fading into the deep forest silence. She tipped her head, a genuine look of weary surprise crossing her face. "A demon?" she chuckled, the sound dry and humorless. 1,000 years ago maybe. That's a little reductive, don't you think? "Look kid, I don't eat people. I haven't in ages. I just float around, play my axe, and generally ignore the screaming chaos down there." She gestured vaguely at the ground. "A monster's words mean nothing," Tanjiro countered, planting his feet. "Your existence is a threat. You are a source of misery. And I can smell the lives you've taken, even if it was ages ago. Prepare yourself." Marceline sighed, the sound heavy with the weight of centuries. She was annoyed, but mostly she was just tired. She wasn't used to anyone taking her seriously as a threat anymore. She was just Marcy to her friends, a dramatic goofball. This kid, however, saw only the primal source of her power. "Okay, look, I'm not gonna hurt you," she said, hovering closer, her red eyes softening slightly in an attempt to look reasonable. "This sword," she pointed to the Nichiren blade, "it won't even scratch me. I've fought stuff that would make your jaw hit the floor, and I've been around longer than the trees you're standing under. Just pack up your little samurai uniform and—" Tanjiro didn't wait for her to finish. The moment she was within striking distance, he exploded forward.
"Hinokami Kagura, clear blue sky."
His sword traced a rapid burning arc meant to sever the neck in one clean strike. The speed was immense, leaving a faint fiery afterimage in the air. This was the technique that had cleanly sliced powerful upper-rank demons. Marceline didn't move. She didn't flinch. She barely even saw the blade coming. The sword connected with her neck. The snap. The sound was not the wet thwack of steel cutting flesh. It was a high-pitched, vibrating kerrang, followed by a sickeningly sharp snap. Tanjiro's eyes went wide with incomprehension and horror. His blade, the special alloy forged to kill demons, hadn't just failed to cut Marceline, it had shattered. The Nichiren sword had struck her pale skin, and the tremendous force and velocity of Tanjiro's attack had met an impossible, ancient resistance. The force, instead of continuing its path, rebounded instantly, not into Tanjiro's hands but into the metal itself. The upper third of the Nichiren sword broke clean off and clattered onto the moss. The remaining hilt bugged violently in Tanjiro's grip, nearly dislocating his shoulder. Marceline didn't even have a red mark on her neck. She merely tilted her head back to observe the shattered fragment of the blade, looking bored and mildly irritated. "See," she said, her voice completely devoid of effort or strain. She was floating inches from the stunned demon slayer. "Told ya?" Tanjiro was frozen, his mouth slightly ajar. The scent of blood was no longer just Marceline, it was the sting of his own panic. His greatest tool was useless, destroyed by a being whose existence defied everything he knew about demons. Before he could process his defeat or ready a hand-to-hand move, Marceline reached out. Her hand was relaxed, open, and casually extended towards his chest. She didn't punch, she didn't slap, she just pushed. Her push carried the effortless, overwhelming strength of a full-powered vampire queen. Tanjiro's breath exploded from his lungs, as if he'd been hit by a boulder. He flew backward with terrifying speed, slamming through the trunks of 3 ancient trees before his limp body finally came to rest in a tangled heap of splinters and forest debris. Marceline hovered over the spot where the blade fragment lay. She gently nudged it with her boot and sighed, a gesture heavy with exasperation. "Geez," she murmured to the broken piece of metal. "Kids these days, always trying to kill someone before coffee." She picked up her axe bass, gave a final shrug, and floated away, leaving the young, defeated demon slayer unconscious and harmless among the roots. The sorrowful, ancient scent of the vampire queen followed the wind, leaving behind only the new, weak smell of a broken sword and a bruised boy. This is getting even more complicated. The blend of Demon Slayer's rigid rules and Oo's delightful chaos is perfect. The feast and the misunderstanding. Tanjiro stood for a long moment. The unconscious Tanjiro stirred, the throbbing pain in his head and shoulder a distant echo compared to the scent that hit him. It was a familiar, clawing odor of decay and power, the kind that accompanied a demon of the 12 Kizuki, but mixed with something else, a cheerful, slobbery scent of a happy dog. He forced his eyes open, his body screaming in protest. Standing over him was a boy with a floppy white hat and a blue shirt, holding a golden sword. Next to him, something unimaginable and utterly horrifying, a giant, yellow, writhing mass of a creature. Its limbs stretched and contorted into grotesque shapes, its face a wide, goofy grin. "Whoa, dude, you okay?" the boy Finn asked, kneeling down. "You just kinda flew through the trees." Tanjiro didn't register the words. He only saw the demon Jake. This demon, with its terrifying ability to alter its shape and size, was clearly a far more powerful monster than anything he had ever faced, even more so than the one he'd just fought. And it was allied with this strange small boy. Pain be damned. Tanjiro stumbled to his feet, ignoring his broken Nichiren sword. His hand went to the dull, heavy hilt of his spare blade, a last resort. "Get away from him!" Tanjiro croaked, his voice raw. He pointed at the yellow creature. "I will not let you corrupt this boy. I will kill that demon." The demon, Jake, stretched his face into a look of confusion. "Demon? Dude, what are you talking about?" "I'm just Jake." He then elongated his hand to pat Tanjiro on the head. "You must have hit your head pretty hard." Tanjiro saw the massive, stretching limb coming towards him. In his mind it was a blood demon art, a powerful attack meant to incapacitate him. With a roar he dodged, pulling the blunt sword from its scabbard. Without a proper Nichiren blade, his techniques would be less effective, but he could still fight. He lunged, aiming for the creature's heart. Finn, who had been watching in stunned silence, reacted instantly. "Whoa, chill out." He stepped in front of his friend, raising his grass sword. The blade met Tanjiro's, and with a familiar clink of steel on steel, Finn pushed back. Tanjiro stumbled, his raw power no match for the seasoned adventurer. "Jake's not a demon, man. He's my brother," Finn exclaimed, his eyes wide. "He's a dog? A magical dog?" Tanjiro was breathing heavily, his head swimming. That's not a dog. He's a monster. He's shapeshifting. He's evil." "No, dude, it's just what he does," Finn insisted, lowering his sword. Jake, seeing the commotion, retracted his hand and turned into a small, wiggling yellow sphere, then reformed into his normal dog shape. He walked over to Tanjiro's broken blade and nudged it with his nose. "Finn, what's with this guy?" Jake asked, his voice now a low, rumbly tone. "And why is his sword broken? That's a bummer." Tanjiro looked at Finn, then at the reformed Jake, and finally at his shattered Nichiren sword on the ground. The pieces of the puzzle weren't fitting together. He could still smell the overwhelming power from the earlier floating figure, but the scent of this dog was different. It was warm and kind, without the malice and sorrow of the demon he knew. He slowly lowered his blunt sword. "Hey, he is not a demon?" Tanjiro asked, his voice a whisper. "But he can change shape. He has immense power." "It's magic, man," Finn explained, sheathing his sword. "The land of Oo is full of magic." Goblins, princesses, wizards, vampires. He trailed off, his face growing somber. Speaking of vampires, was that Marceline you were fighting? Tanjiro's shoulders slumped. He felt a wave of shame wash over him. He had charged in, full of righteous fury, and had been summarily defeated and even destroyed his sword. I don't know her name. She was floating. She said she was a vampire. I saw her and I smelled a powerful demon. I thought she was a great evil. Finn nodded. Marceline is the vampire queen. She's kinda our friend though. She's not a bad guy anymore. She just floats. And plays her bass. He picked up the broken piece of Tanjiro's sword and looked at it. She must have shattered it with her strength. She's really powerful. Tanjiro looked at the broken blade, the symbol of his mission, and felt a profound sense of failure. He had been so sure, so certain. He had never encountered a demon that wasn't evil. He had never considered a world where monsters could be friends, or where the rules of his world didn't apply. I was wrong, Tanjiro said, the words difficult to form. I'm sorry. I thought you were demons, both of you. He looked at Jake, who was now licking his face with a giant, friendly, doggy tongue. I'm sorry for trying to kill you, mister. Jake, and you, Finn, for attacking you. Finn grinned and helped him to his feet. Nah man, no worries. It's a weird place. You just gotta get used to it. You look beat up. You need a place to crash? We got some sandwiches at the tree fort. Tanjiro, dazed and disoriented, looked from the weird boy to his magical dog, to the broken pieces of his sword. He had no idea what to make of this new, strange world. But for the first time since he had been transported here, the scent of kindness was stronger than the scent of sorrow. He had no idea what was to come, but for now, he had two new friends. Tanjiro's shoulders slumped, the weight of his confusion and exhaustion finally settling in. He stood there, holding a useless sword, his senses completely betrayed by this strange new world. I'm sorry, he whispered, the words tasting like ash. I don't know where I am. I don't know what's real anymore. Finn, seeing the genuine despair on his face, relaxed his stance. He glanced at Jake, who gave a small, reassuring nod. It's cool, man, Finn said, his voice now soft and understanding. You're a long way from home. You look pretty beat up too. And super hungry. He gestured back down the path. How about you come back to our place? We can get you some food and figure things out. Tanjiro hesitated, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. This boy and his dog were kind, but everything he knew about demons and auras was wrong here. Was this a trap? Was this part of the demon's illusion? But the boy's scent was so honest, so full of genuine concern. After a moment, his stomach grumbled loudly, making the decision for him. He sheathed his sword and bowed slightly. Thank you. I accept. As they walked, Finn and Jake tried to explain but the concepts of a 1,000-year-old magical land and stretchy dogs were impossible for Tanjiro to process. They finally arrived at a bizarre, massive structure, a tree house that defied all architectural sense. It was built into a giant tree, with mismatched windows and a crooked door. Home sweet home, Finn announced, pushing the door open. All right, get ready for the best roommate ever. A small blue box on legs rolled forward, its screen blinking with a cheerful face. Greetings, Finn and Jake. Welcome home. It chirped in a high, melodic voice. And who is this new friend? Tanjiro froze. His senses screamed at him. This little box, this BMO, had no life force, no scent of flesh or blood. It was a hollow, empty shell, like a puppet animated by a cruel sorcerer. To his mind, only a powerful demon could create such a soulless automaton. He lunged forward, grabbing a stray piece of wood from the floor, his eyes narrowed in determination. It's a puppet, he yelled. An empty shell. It must be a demon's tool. He raised the wood, ready to smash the little box to pieces. Whoa, dude, no. Finn shouted, diving and tackling Tanjiro to the ground, just as the piece of wood splintered against the floor. BMO's not a demon. He's our friend. He's a living video game console. Tanjiro struggled against Finn's grip, but the boy was surprisingly strong. A video game console? Tanjiro repeated, his voice filled with confusion. He looked at BMO, who was now just blinking, his cheerful face replaced by a quizzical expression. BMO is our friend, Jake said, his voice surprisingly firm. He's just different. You gotta stop trying to smash everything that's weird here. Just then the wooden box on Tanjiro's back shifted. He had been so focused on the outside world, on these new threats, that he had forgotten about the one thing that still connected him to his home. The lid of the box creaked open, and a small hand emerged, followed by a head of black hair. Nezuko, in her small form, peered out sleepily, her bamboo muzzle still in place. The air went silent. Finn and Jake stared at the little girl, and Tanjiro felt a pang of deep shame. He had almost hurt his new friends out of fear, while his most important charge, his sister, was right there with him. "This is Nezuko," Tanjiro said softly, his voice full of a tenderness that was new to Finn and Jake. She's my little sister." A moment later, Jake started sniffing the air. "Hey, smells like someone's hungry. Let's get cooking." He pulled out a worn cookbook, and with a few masterful stretches, he grabbed pots and pans from every corner of the room. Soon the smells of sizzling meat and boiling rice filled the treehouse. That night, Tanjiro sat with Finn and Jake, eating a meal that was strangely delicious despite its unfamiliarity. Nezuko, still small, sat on his lap, a peaceful look on her face. For the first time since arriving in Wu, Tanjiro felt a sense of calm. He didn't understand this world or its strange inhabitants, but as he finished his dinner and laid his head on a makeshift pillow, he knew he was safe. And for now, that was enough. A sudden The Candy Kingdom crisis. The next morning, the air in the tree fort was warm, smelling of pine and Jake's experimental breakfast burritos. Tanjiro, surprisingly well rested despite the injuries he'd sustained from Marceline and the bewildering events of the night, was sitting cross-legged on the floor, watching Nezuko playfully tap BMO's screen. Suddenly, a loud, urgent BBOOBEE boo echoed from Finn's wrist, where a small bubblegum pink device was blinking rapidly. "Oh snap, that's the emergency line." Finn jumped up, answering the call. The face of Princess Bubblegum, looking highly stressed, appeared on the tiny screen. "Finn! Jake, we have a major monster problem. They're hitting the Candy Kingdom. They're like big purple goose-spitting things with way too many teeth. We need backup now." Jake instantly stretched out his arm, morphing his hand into a miniature steering wheel. "We're on our way, PB. Jake, mobile activate." Finn looked at Tanjiro. "Hey dude, you coming? It's a monster mash. We could really use the help." Tanjiro immediately stood, his eyes lighting up with purpose. His face was solemn. "Yes, it is my duty to protect the innocent. Even without my proper blade, I will fight." He strapped the blunt practice sword to his side, then gently tapped Nezuko's box. "Nezuko, stay safe. I will return." The battle for sweetness. The journey to the Candy Kingdom was a blur of Jake stretching, flying over trees and pastel-colored terrain. They landed right in the center of the chaos. The monsters were indeed awful, hulking masses of purple, amorphous goo with razor teeth, and several glowing yellow eyes. They were spitting corrosive sludge, melting the delicate, terrified candy people. "Algebraic," Finn shouted, drawing his golden sword. "You take the left flank, dude. Jake, go stretch out their main blob." Tanjiro charged without hesitation. Seeing the candy people, innocent beings made of sweets, in such danger fueled his concentration. He used his superior speed and refined total concentration breathing to dart past the panicking citizens, dodging the corrosive goo. He moved with the practiced grace of water breathing, using fourth form striking tide. Without a sharp blade, he couldn't kill the monsters, but the force of his strikes was immense. Tanjiro's contribution: he used the blunt edge of his sword as a powerful blunt weapon, aiming for the monsters' core masses to stun and disrupt them. His incredible speed and flawless footwork allowed him to efficiently herd the terrified candy people out of the monsters' path. He was a whirlwind of protection, shoving, deflecting, and body-checking the creatures away from the citizens, clearing pathways for their escape. But while Tanjiro was indispensable in defense and crowd control, he quickly realized he wasn't making a dent in their numbers. Finn and Jake's offense: Finn was pure, joyful chaos. He charged into the thickest concentration of monsters, using his sword to hack and slice. When they cornered him, he'd roll, his agility unmatched. He was cutting the creatures into manageable, smaller chunks. Jake, however, was the real powerhouse. He would expand his hands into massive, unbreakable mallets, splatting the monsters flat. Then he'd stretch his body into a giant sticky net, scooping up entire groups of the gooey foes and launching them far over the kingdom walls. He could also transform his fists into powerful flamethrowers, though he opted not to use those near the sugar structures. Within minutes, the battle was decided. Finn and Jake, used to fighting reality-bending enemies on a daily basis, had developed specialized moves for dealing with amorphous goo beasts. The bulk of the monsters were now defeated, scattered, or stuck to the outer walls. The aftermath. Princess Bubblegum, who had been directing the defenses from a safe distance, rushed over as the last monster chunk was splattered by a giant Jake foot. Finn! Jake, you saved us again. Truly commendable heroism, she said, adjusting her crown. She then turned to Tanjiro, who was helping a traumatized banana guard stand up. His breathing was heavy, and he looked frustrated, his blunt sword clutched tightly. "And who is this admirable young man?" PB asked. He was surprisingly effective at keeping the citizens safe. His defensive tactics were flawless. Finn slapped Tanjiro heartily on the back. "This is Tanjiro PB. He's from another dimension where everything is trying to eat him. He's a demon slayer." Tanjiro bowed respectfully to the princess. "I did my best, princess, but I am ashamed. I could not defeat the enemy. I could only deflect them." He held up his blunt sword. "My proper blade was destroyed. I am unable to fulfill my mission here." Princess Bubblegum smiled kindly, her scientific mind already racing. "Nonsense, Tanjiro. Every fighter has a specialized role. Finn and Jake are excellent at offensive demolition. But you are a master of precision in defense. You saved countless lives by ensuring the candy people escaped." She paused, considering the blunt sword. "If your original sword could kill monsters, perhaps I can assist you. I am an expert chemist and weapons engineer. Bring the fragments to my lab later, and let's see what the science of Oo can do for the metal of your homeworld." Tanjiro's eyes widened with renewed hope. You would do that? Thank you, princess. I am eternally grateful." Jake walked up, transforming his hand into a friendly five-fingered form and patting Tanjiro on the head. "See, dude? I told you everything works out in Oo. Now, let's go get some celebratory, maybe not sandwiches. Maybe some ice cream cones?